Many times when I am preparing for a sermon, the thought comes pretty quickly. This past week, not so much. This sermon did not come easy for me. Most of our texts for today are apocalyptic in character. They focus on the final things and the awful things, wars and rumors of wars and earthquakes that are occurring now and that will occur later. Apocalyptic literature is great stuff. We're living in apocalyptic times, but I got to tell you, it takes a lot of work to get people to understand what's going on in apocalyptic literature, because they live in a culture that tells them this apocalyptic literature is about predicting things that are happening right now, and it is not. This is literature that's reflecting on things that have happened in the past. And so it's good stuff, but I just didn't have the energy this week to deal with Mark and Daniel to figure out how to express to you the significance of apocalyptics. The reading from Hebrews, well, it did grab me some, but it too seems somewhat disconnected to the lives of Michiganders in 2021. The reading talks about high priests and animal sacrifices and temple curtains. I mean, what? How do you talk about this Hebrew stuff in a modern way? I asked my wife the other day while she was under the influence of her Moderna booster shot. And it probably wasn't fair on my part to ask her the question, but I was struggling. I couldn't figure out what I was going to say. And I told her that Hebrews was trying its best, I think, to communicate something very important, something that resonates with all of humanity, but did so in a way that leaves many of us modern folks out. And I also said to her that Hebrews was dealing with some tough stuff to understand, like the death of Jesus and the relationship of the old and the new. And then Hebrews was explaining these things in a way that would have made sense to Hebrews' Jewish Christian audience of the day. How do I make sense of his vision for people who live right now? Well, when my wife heard me ask this, she said, "Well, that's your job." Now, truthfully, I really don't think she was being flippant or trying to avoid the hard work of answering the question in light of her COVID booster brain. She was simply reminding me of what preachers are called to do, what preaching is all about. Preaching takes old stuff written to ancient audiences and then brings it on home, makes it come alive to people who don't necessarily relate to how the message was being communicated and also the images in the message, but who, it is hoped, can clearly relate to the content of the message. It is no surprise that most scholars would consider Hebrews to be not a letter, but a sermon addressing a real congregation with real needs, bringing home the message with symbols and images that would have made sense to those folks. But yes, they don't make a lot of sense to us. For Hebrews, Jesus is the new and great high priest, a high priest who is far superior to the previous high priest. Now, as I trust you know, high priests offered sacrifices regularly on behalf of their people. And they had to do it again and again and again and again because sin, even their own sin, had to be dealt with anew. Now, most of us have a hard time relating to animal sacrifices. As far as I know, very few of you, maybe they over in Lansing, maybe they do this, but very few of you are burning animals to expunge your sin. I don't know, again, where Barb Elliott lives out there. I mean, they probably do some strange things out there. But for the most part, I do not think most of you are sacrificing animals. Yes, you put some chicken or steaks on the grill, but I doubt many of you view your charbroiled lamb or beef as a way of wiping out the messiness of your life. In fact, they probably create more messiness for you. High priests, sacrifices, temple curtains, all mentioned by Hebrews are foreign to us. But what is Hebrews getting at with this message? Is there a message in all of this that we can resonate with? The author of Hebrews, in critiquing ancient Jewish practice, points to the fact that the high priest had to offer sacrifices repeatedly. Sacrifice was a non-ending reality. His point is that as Jesus offered his life on the cross, he did so once for all, which is to say the need for sacrifice is done. The author of Hebrews imaginatively puts what happened after Jesus' death with these words: "But when Christ had offered for all time a single sacrifice for sins, he sat down at the right hand of God." Most high priests stand. Jesus sat down. He sat down, which is to say his work was done. The work of sacrifice was over. Well, what's the point? Is Hebrews telling me something that can resonate with my modern life? Absolutely. I like what William Loader says. The emphasis here is on completeness. Nothing is missing. There's no need for an additional mediator. You don't need a priest as a broker before God. You don't need additional rituals which only they can perform. Nothing needs repeating. God does not hold back. Love is there for all of us, once and for all. How much of our lives is a matter of trying to make up for the past, as if the love, grace, and compassion of God are not sufficient for the present? How often do we not hold on to guilt? Because, believe it or not, sometimes guilt makes us feel better. I love the line out of Patti Loveless, country music singer, who says, "You can feel bad if it makes you feel better." Sometimes we feel better by feeling bad. Sometimes guilt is what we hang on to because we feel it's something that we can do when we can't do anything else. And some of us live in the punishment mode. We cripple ourselves with what is often self-imposed punishment because we feel we have to make up for what we did. Now, honestly, some of us have done some pretty bad things. But let's also tell the truth, some pretty bad things have been done unto us. Some of us are not even guilty. Yet we hang on to what has been done to us as if the past stuff can define the present. Well, what if grace is sufficient for the day? What if the kind of compassion that is experienced in a dying man on a cross, embracing us all who have done all kinds of horrible things and have had horrible things done unto us, what if that compassion is enough for the living of this day and to help us move into the future? What if there is abundance in God that frees us from the confines of the past? And that, I believe, is what Hebrews is telling us. We don't have to keep offering sacrifice. The sacrificial system is over. We therefore do not need to grovel before life and people and God. Actually, according to Hebrews, we can have confidence to enter the sanctuary, live our lives before God. Life in God is not about pretending that we aren't worth much, that what we have done or what has been done to us makes us unworthy to approach God or to assert ourselves before other people. Hebrews says, let us approach the presence of God with a true heart in full assurance of faith. We approach God and life with a full assurance of forgiveness, which, by the way, and this is very significant, frees us to bring our brokenness to God and to others. The power of forgiveness is to be discovered in our ability to tell the truth, to admit that what we've done and to admit what's been done to us. To know the reality of forgiveness is to be free to seek forgiveness. Our lives are messy. We can bring the totality of them before God, and yes, even before one another. And Hebrews takes seriously the importance of one another, the importance of the communal character of the faith. Faith is not meant to be done alone, something that so many people believe these days. I don't need to be with other people. I don't need to gather with others. Faith, you see, is a personal, private journey. Well, not according to Hebrews. The confidence that we are called to live in is confidence that we get in community. Listen to the author's words. Let us consider, and I love this, how to provoke one another to love and good deeds, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some. It's in community that we can take the confidence that is God's gift to us to help us live out love, to do good deeds for one another and for the world. It's in meeting together that we are reminded there's enough grace and enough forgiveness to go around. It's in meeting together that we are provoked to think beyond our own little lives, to reach out beyond our own little concerns and issues, which actually, if we get this, often helps us deal with our own concerns and issues. You don't know how many times I've been told by people that they're being provoked to do good deeds has served to help them deal with themselves and their problems. As they are in community and as they reach out to other people, they get help with their issues. And they're able to put their problems sometimes in some kind of perspective. A problem shared is often a problem halved. Now, you and I are living in a time that the book of Hebrews could never, ever have imagined. Because we don't have to be together to be together. The pandemic has made all of us grateful for the internet. It can keep us connected, and I would encourage you to use it for that purpose, by the way. Our adult education classes online are supreme examples of connected people, of people who don't neglect to meet together. But I would also urge you not to allow the internet to turn you into spectators. We need to be together. We need to be accountable to one another. We need to support one another. And we don't need to be together, by the way, so that we can earn our way, make points, keep offering sacrifices to deal with the past. No, not at all. Our gathering online or in person is about the sheer joy of being together. As Martin Luther reminded us, worship, being together, is not about obligation, but rather about communion, about connection, about reminding ourselves of grace and forgiveness, about being freed up to tell the truth about our brokenness, about our being provoked to do good and to love. Seldom do you get all of that when you live your lives disconnected from community. New members, remember that. It is a gift to be in community. Well, I don't know if I did my job or not today. My wife might be able to tell me later on. I don't know if I brought it on home. I don't know, but this I know for sure. Old words can speak powerfully new and life-transforming messages. Amen.